the film.
Hits.
Write my name in the.
Tzidkas Hatzadik ois hey hey. Good morning, everybody. You know, I've said this rule in Rav Tzadok many times, and it's so true in this hey hey, that unlike many other svarim that have a build-up to like a question or an answer, like Litvish svarim, Hasidic svarim in general, Rav Tzadok specifically, starts with the yesod and then builds into it. It's a very important. Sasemas also does that, but nobody as much as Rav Tzadok. That it's even at kach that in certain versions of the Tzidkas Hatzadik, like the Elio Kito version, so he has all the first sentences bolded, meaning like this is you can just read through the bolds and get the main idea, and then after that everything is a proof. It's just a different way of thinking. But the reason I'm mentioning this here is to pay a good attention to the first sentence that he's saying, and that is Kisha Adam Choshev bin Nafshay Sha'asa Harbe Ba'avodas Hashem. Let's say a person thinks to themselves that, okay, I've done a lot in Avodas Hashem, I've taught myself a lot of Torah, I've learned a lot, I do a lot of Chesed. Yeda, so the minute you think this, you can know, Shaloi Naga Ba'klum, you've done nothing. Pretty harsh for a Hasidic Rebbe.
Because you want that?
So, right, so let's get the Omek here. Not saying only that, hey, you think you accomplished a lot, but you didn't. Okay, but he's saying that the very thought, the very possibility of a thought which expresses that I've accomplished a lot means that you do not grasp what it is you're meant to be accomplishing altogether. The person says, you know, I understand infinity. So it's not that the person's about gaiva. The very fact that you could say, I understand infinity, is the proof that you don't know what infinity is. If that's true, I'm not a mathematician, but it's true for me.
It's like people say on the internet, I've read the Talmud.
I've read the Talmud. Worst kind of people. So the very fact, no, it's such an important yesod that if you find yourself saying to yourself or to others that, okay, I got it when it comes to Avodas Hashem, so that means that you, like naga b'klal, means not that you didn't get it. Like naga b'klal, you did nothing. So kishadam choshev b'nafshi she'asa harbe b'avodas Hashem yeda. This is how you know shloi naga b'klum. Moshe Amru, and here I'm going to need your help here. The Gemara says in Kedushin Nemtes Amud Beis, Siman Lagasas Haruach Anias de Torah. Words are easy. The siman of Gasas Ruach, let's call that a Balgaiva, a haughty person. The siman of a haughty person is Anias de Torah, is that he's an Amoritz. He has poverty, he's impoverished in Torah. So here's where I need some help. What's a siman of what? In other words, siman Lagasas Haruach. Okay, here, translate. Siman Lagasas Haruach Anias de Torah.
Gasas Ruach is arrogance, but Anias de Torah, like poverty of Torah.
What's the siman and what's the siba and what's the masovek? Every other thing I know.
The simple reading is that the siman is the ruach. Is the anias the Torah. If a person is weak in
Torah, probably means.
Yeah, that
So if you see a person that's weak in Torah, That's how you're reading the order. You can assume that he's about gaiva.
I'm just trying to translate it as is. I'm not without applying seichel to it.
Good.
Simon le gasus haruach.
Simon, that's a good simon.
Yeah.
Tzadok is saying the opposite.
What?
Tzadok is saying is reading the opposite.
Opposite, right? He's saying, so how's Rav Tzadok reading it?
The person is about guy, but it means he doesn't really know him. He's lacking in.
Didn't say anything to opposite things? Right, so that's, what is.
These things are connected with what it means. Literally it means this and it means that, but actually it means that two things are connected.
Obviously it's connected. The question is, what does the Gemara mean? Simon, what is the Gemara saying? Is the Gemara, here's the question. Let's let the Gemara be in for a second. Saying it's connected with respect is, so is the din of Yavamas, and I mean everything's connected. But the Gemara is saying Gavart here. The Gemara is either saying that if you want to understand why a person is an Amoritz, go look at his midos and you'll see gaiva. That's one possibility, as Shul said, translates it. And what you're saying, maybe a different way or a tzaddik way, is that if you want to understand why somebody's about gaiva, understand that he didn't learn Torah. So it's not that he's an Amoritz because he's about gaiva, but he's about gaiva because he's an Amoritz. These are two different things, yes? Are you both programmers? I'm not saying what works both ways. It can work 50 ways. I'm asking, what does the Gemara say? What are the words of the Gemara?
It says that there's a symbol for something. This symbol is that you.
So what's a simon and what's a simon?
It's a symbol, but you see it, and it seems that this word is about God.
So
which comes first, the chicken?
What's
or
the simon? We're looking for a simon. Let's say you're doing a diagnosis. You want to find out if somebody is, you're doing a diagnosis. So you look for certain simonim.
Yes.
I don't want to mention any particular illnesses, but you look for particular simonim, right? So the simon is the symptom. Simon means the symptom.
He has a runny nose.
Right. So, so my hand hurts. So my hand hurts, but or that's a symptom, or this is coming from my who knows what, my shoes, the way I digest things, whatever it is. So there's all kinds of. So what's a siba? Let's use the Rambam type words. What's a siba and what's a mesovev? The siba is the reason something is happening. The Rambam, this is very important in the whole Meir Nevuchah. What's a siba? What's a mesuv? It's really called mesuvav, by the way, like a dreidel. The mesuvav. So I don't think it's called mesovev. So what's the siba and what's the mesuvav? The Rambam asks us about everything throughout the entire one of his main hakiras. So, for instance, one example the Rambam gives, the Rambam held of the the 4-element theory. I don't think we hold it out anymore. But everything is either wind, fire. Yeah, we don't hold of it because we have an atomic theory, which is much more accurate, but it doesn't make a difference. Philosophically, so those 4 elements are the siba or the mesovev. What do you say? You guys are good at this.
What do you mean? In what context?
Everything in the world is made up of these 4 elements. So the Rambam says that they are the siba. And what happens with it is the mesuvav. Okay, so that's how the Rambam understands siba mesuvav. So here we have a question. We'll see if there's an nafkamina, but there is definitely an obvious nafkamina, because let's say I'm an Amoritz. So will it help me? Okay, I'm an Amoritz. We'll get rid of your gaiva. That'll take care of that. Don't do mental exercises, and don't just get rid of your gaiva, which makes a lot of sense, by the way, because then you'll listen when people talk, and you'll always be willing to learn. You don't see it as much anymore, but when I was a very young rabbi, so I was surrounded mostly by your pre-war European Holocaust survivors, wonderful people, but difficult people. Whenever I would speak somewhere, so like the whole place in the middle, yo, my yeah. It was like a whole, you know, like it's let's just listen for a minute, maybe you'll learn something, right? So it's just like it's like hard to compliment. It's hard to call, it's hard to call it. It's hard to call it gaiva. The word bali gaiva. It's just if you just have the ability to listen to any other person, you realize the ability, like I have something to learn from anybody, right? So then you'll have Torah. Or there's something, or this is a very big or, so I got to work on my gaiva, for sure, true. Or if I find that I'm like so haughty and so arrogant all the time, a good thing to do, like I feel like I know so much, so learn some Torah, and you say you don't know anything. Sometimes you go listen to somebody who's a Talmud Chacham. You think to yourself, I thought I knew something. I know nothing. I know nothing. People know everything. The learning is a humbling experience, and maybe even the spiritual aspect of putting something ruchnius into our system opens us up for humility, even if it's not just a direct psychological connection. So this question is a machlokes, it seems, from between Rashi and Reb Tzadok here, because Rashi says, I have it in mind, Rashi on this Gemara says that Torah eino shoyra eino noiche al gasei haruach. Torah will never fall on a bal gaiva. Why? Because he's a bal gaiva. Simple shot, right? Because he's a bal gaiva. So Eidem Meshamish Kol Tzarcha. He's never going to ask any questions. And he's never going to do chazar on his learning because I know what I'm doing already. I don't have to ask any questions. I don't have to listen to anybody. I don't have to koloimar. I'm not even going to say the kolomar because I think it's a mistake here. But then he writes here in the thing, Avo Rabbeinu Mevayer Kan Lahepech. Tzadok says the opposite, which I'm quick. Sheha'anius de Torah he hagoremes hagaiva. So that's what Reb Tzadok is saying. One more thing about this.
For sure what Reb Tzadok is saying?
So let's go another line and we'll see. So what he's trying to prove, that if you think you know you've accomplished something in Avodas Hashem, that's exactly the sign that you did not accomplish anything. That you didn't even nagaba. You know,
it's a sign.
Moshe Amru Simen Lagasus Ruach Aniyas Tatayra.
So I'm not seeing a connection.
Ki, let's try. Istera Peligna Kish Kish Karya.
Ki, what? What do you have?
Hakhohen and Tzedakah box makes more noise than food.
Astire is a coin. Bilagina in a pushka. Kish Kish Karya makes kish makes a lot of
That's how
noise.
you know when the right tzedakah collector is coming in.
Right. They have a little credit card machine.
No.
By the way, then there's psychometry, one of the questions of Hebrew, a classic one.
What?
The psychometry in Israel, this line, this gemara, this
Oh, yeah?
line, if you know, it's like a lot of points of the Hebrew reception of the psychometry.
Which word is Hebrew?
It's like kish karya.
Oh, kish karya.
Yeah, it's one of the,
So if you hear a pushkas make a lot of noise, you know it doesn't have any money in it. I was thinking that Ari here should make a niggin out of that. Yeah, stira baligida
You
kish
wouldn't know what I'm
karya.
singing, and it sounds good. So.
Yeah, it doesn't have to.
And you can have tzedakah boxes in the background.
You're going? Hashem Ken Kis Male. So, once again, what is he proving here? He's saying that if you something makes a lot of noise, so what makes a lot of noise means that there's not much there. So that means that if a Balgaiva presumably makes a lot of noise, that means because there isn't much Torah there, there isn't any kind of like Torah in the bank.
But is it a quality of quantity? Like it could be he's learned all his life 12 hours, 18 hours a day, but if he hasn't absorbed the lessons of Torah, so that maybe he's going to be a Balgaiva, or is it that 5 minutes a day?
Avodas Hashem we're talking about.
In other words, if you learn 12 hours a day, he's still not there because he's about that.
It's not even just per se talking about learning itself. It's just avodas Hashem, service of God.
One more time, I'm sorry to dwell on this so much, but okay, you have an empty pushka makes a lot of noise. So what's the simon and what's the, like, why is it making a lot of noise? Because it's empty. So it's the emptiness of an Arnim Shell Torah, which makes a lot of noise, Gaiva. So comes Rav Tzadok, and he's telling us in Gemara that you see that the lot of noise comes from the bankruptcy of the Pushka. So you see clearly, not like Rashi. I think that's why
He has Torah, but it's empty Torah.
What he doesn't have Avodas Hashem. So you have not really touched on Avodas Hashem. Most people that walk around thinking that, I know all about Avodas Hashem. Know nothing about Avodas Hashem. Like Shul said, I read the Talmud. Yeah. That's pretty funny, actually. So,
They read the whole thing.
Yeah, yesterday. Chen Amru b'Zayar is also a Zayar. Siman de lo yada klum, and here you have a more mefurish, I think. Siman de lo yada klum. How do you know if somebody knows nothing? The answer is shabuche, when they're always praising themselves to say how much they know. So, how do you know when somebody knows nothing? And this sounds like, how do you know somebody knows nothing? Shabuche. I want to show you something.
That they don't know anything, or that it hasn't like really changed them.
Tzadok and the Ramchal are two different, limudim. I just found this fascinating. The Kehillas Shivtei Yeshurun in Shar Anova, this rang a bell, and then Hine Beroish Kol HaMafsidim. It's talking about Anivos here. Kehillas Ha'anova. Beroish Kol HaMafsidim, the main thing that takes away our humility, Hasichlos, is stupidity. Umiyatayadia Ha'amitis, and not knowing anything that's right. So Kehillas Shivtei is very clear that the main thing that causes arrogance is ignorance. So we're looking for, why is that guy so arrogant? What's the Untershishur, what's really making him arrogant? The answer is his ignorance is making him arrogant. That's what the Kehillas Shivtei says. Just like Rav Tzadok. Kitira, because look around and you'll see, She'ein hagaiva mitzuya yoser ela b'misha sachal yoser. You don't find any gaiva by people that are smart. Gaiva is for idiots. If a person is arrogant and thinks that, this is very true, by the way.
Or the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Oh, yeah?
The Dunning-Kruger effect. That
Teach us.
The people who are the loudest and most confident of their opinions are invariably the people who know the least about the subject.
That's defensive offense. That's defensive offense.
People who know more are much more careful and aware of the fact that there are nuances.
I heard a one of these video clips, probably in the beginning of this war, and the general was saying to all the soldiers, there was thousands of soldiers, he says, there's a lot of techniques, you've had a lot of training, there's a lot of things you need to know. Most important thing is to be humble. Now, this was not about Musar, this guy, I could tell by looking at him. he was, but what he was saying was that the minute you're too, you have this gaiva, so you're going to make a mistake. But so that's for sure something to be careful about. But does this go in the face, just while we're talking about it, does this fly in the face of the whole self-esteem movement?
It's not because, like you said, Moshe was an honor. He understood his work.
You're saying a Dvar Torah. I'm just saying what he's saying.
I mean,
Moshe was an honor mikol adam,
Right.
which may mean that he didn't say, like, that may mean that he said, as he said, or as Abraham said, Anochi offer ve'efer. Yaakov said, Katointi mikol achasad mikol emes. Moshe Rabbeinu said, Anachnu ma. Like, I know you could say all kinds of things about it, but the positive shot is that if we're taking somebody in therapy and boosting their self-esteem, so we're taking away positive shot. We're taking away their anivus. Now it could be that the world is like so choil nefesh these days that you're not taking away their. In other words, you're just bringing them to par. Just bring them to a normal place, because we're also, for whatever reason, we're also feel some downtrodden, maybe. But it's been very chashuv of people like Rav Tursky and other kind of people have been the biggest pushers of the movement of self-esteem and have attributed every problem to it. So gaiva is, I guess that's not gaiva, or it's not gas's ruach. But what the Kehillas Shivtei is saying,
Honesty.
what the Mishra is saying is that ein hagaiva mitzuya yoiser. You don't find a lot of gaiva elamisha sachal yoiser unless they're particularly stupid people. That's what he says. Rabbi Seinu zichronim levracha. Now this is interesting because the Rabbi Seinu zichronim levracha. You'll find this in Chazal. They say siman lagasus haruach anius haTorah. So the Kehillas Yeshurun brings exactly the same Gemara in as Rav Tzadok. It's a Gemara in Kedushin Memtes. V'chein Amru, and Chazal also said, Siman l'yada klum shaboche. Now we're talking serious copying one. V'chein Amru, and it also says, Istra b'lagene kish kish karya. Interesting.
Who's quoting who?
I don't know.
Tzadok was after. Right? Or at the same time?
No. Tzadok was much after. So, no, I doubt Tzadok needed to. He was the most creative and the most. Doubt if he needed to plagiarize the Ramchal, and I didn't. Or maybe he didn't want to quote the Ramchal. Just making an interesting observation that it's Mila b'Mila. But then Ramchal adds a piece here, and he says, there's also a medrash, which Tzadok I don't think does bring. Odamru shalu li lone srak mipnei ma kolchem nishma. Why do fruitless trees make so much noise? The wind goes through them. They make more noise than trees with fruit. And the answer is, Amru, the tree said, they asked these Ilane Srak, Amru, halavai yeh kolenu nishma v'nizacher, meaning that halavai, our voice would be saying something actually, like would be actually be important. Ukvar ra'inu shemoshe shehu muvchar shebechol adam haya anav mikol ha'adam. Was he humbled by the Torah, was he humble and therefore learned Torah? Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm not going to one word answer.
No, but it's the therefore. I mean, the Rav taught us it basically had this complete walls at the right side of the cup, or as thin as possible, so they will refill.
See, it's so interesting because I think I even mentioned it last week that the Zohar, since I'm saying my words, what the Zohar says that when Moshe Rabbeinu engaged the sneh, so Hashem said, "I have a mission for you." So the minute Moshe said, "I can't do that. I can't do that," and then Hashem said, "This is the way the conversation goes." Hashem said, "Okay, then you're really the man." Meaning, like if he would have said, anybody who would have said, "Yes, I can do that job," disqualifies themselves for the job completely. It's before in the Zohar, and it's also.
Also, Yosef says Biladai.
They everybody. I don't, if I was hiring an employee and I say, you think you can do the job? They say, no. Go to the next one. But, but in God's work, the moment a person says, biladoi, and they mean it, you see, let me make one observation while we're learning Kehillat Shivtei, that there's also this kind of like inverted snobbery, which I'm very sensitive to. So inverted snobbery is the, I'm nothing, I'm nobody.
Look who thinks he's nothing.
I'm such an, so look who thinks he's nothing. So there is one. One has to be careful. Kehillat Shivtei speaks this out. By the way, you have to be careful not to act humble if you're not, because that's gaiva.
Yes, I was involved at one time. I had a become honor, and he got angry. And the Hebrew is like I don't know what level, I don't remember, the 7th level of becoming Kehillat Shivtei, and I told him, he said, you can't just, honor is big, it's a high level. You can't just start. I said, what do I do? So I said, Torah, there's a Hebrew.
He's saying over Kehillat Shivtei, Rav Tzaddik. And Rav Tzaddik, they're both saying the same thing. Meaning, by the way, the answer, I think, to the question is what I think, is that, something like Anivus is Perek Chaf Gimel and Chaf Daled in the Kehillat Shivtei. It's way up there. And, the answer to it is not to have false anivus, because if you fall into false anivus, which I think is one of the worst things to fall into. But if you fall into false anivus, then you become a totally artificial person, and you get praised for your artificialness. So and it's very easy to be an artificial enough. But the idea is step by step. I think that's what he was saying, which is for simple people like me, like try to be an unav like once a day. Because
what does it mean to be an unav?
To be misponing in the fact that I really don't know. In other words, to just face that reality, not be in denial of the fact that, I just really don't know. If you're in a higher madrega, the Gemara says, now, I get a lot of calls with questions and shilos and all that kind of thing. It's not easy for you to, I'm just saying, honestly, it's not easy to say, I don't know, even when I don't know, but it's important, and I doubt if the person on the other side is impressed. It's not like, whoa, what an unknown. It's because it's like, can I go to the mikveh? Can I not? I don't know. It doesn't. But the thing of it is that the avodas Hashem. This is what the Gemara says. The avodas Hashem. First of all, honesty. If you don't know, don't say. If you don't know, don't say. Call somebody else. Keep another number by you. But the avoda. Not the honesty, but the avoda of Eneni Yodeya is the way you take. That's your first step, and you can do it once a day, once a week. But that's your first step to anivus. But here in Rav Tzaddik and in the Kehillat Shivtei, we're learning a different story here. Put more money in that pushka. In other words, somebody's saying the pushka. They say this here all the time. The pushka is making too much noise. Can you get somebody else to bring around the pushka? I hear this all the time. We got to even change pushkas because you were making too much noise with the pushka. But there's a simple solution. Put more money in the pushka. You put more money. Right. If you put more money in the pushka, it's good because paper money cushions it. It makes it so it doesn't make so much noise, and a lot of money makes it quieter. So it's the same thing. If a person is making too much noise, in general, it means that there's not enough substance. I would even say, forgive me for this tangent, but it's just something that I think about a lot. I would even say that there's like an illness of talking in shul. Thank God here it's not too bad, but normal. But there's some places where the president of the shul, the rabbi, has to bang 3-4 times during kedusha to get everybody to pay attention. I mean, yeah, there's such a thing. I don't want to say anything bad, but I've having lived with that syndrome, I've given a thought. Like these are good people. They're Yirei Shamayim very often. A lot of them are Balei Chesed. I would even say a lot of good comes out of those conversations. Like you get a better kiddush and doing chesed with people. A lot of good things come out of it. Socialization itself is a good thing, but that unto itself is already good. The people Jews are talking to each other. The only way to get Jews to talk to each other is by saying kedusha. It's a skula, But I gave some thought into trying to figure out, why would people talk during davening? I wonder, I'm just wondering, like do Arabs go to a mosque and schmooze? I don't.
Or Christians.
Or do Christians go to church and schmooze? Like how could it be the holiest thing in the world? Here, the light of all nations, people are talking. So I'm not giving Musar here because we don't talk too much over here. But what I am saying is that it's a defense mechanism against emptiness.
It's an amazing shot to the Chaim, because the same notion in Shulchan Aruch, what Chaim said in the Chumash about talking about
Dolev and
Let me say one more time. It's a defense mechanism for emptiness. Because you approach davening, and what am I doing here? I don't understand the words. I don't understand what it means to be standing in front of Hashem. I don't really understand what Hashem is going to be doing for me, especially on Shabbos when I'm not allowed to even ask for anything. At least you can get into yourself if you're asking bakashos. Shabbos is particularly difficult. I don't understand why this guy is reading a parak from Micha. And we all have to be quiet. And I don't understand the whole thing. Now, why don't you understand it? You went to shul all your life. Why don't you understand it? Probably because they've never been taught, and they've never sort of meditated on this idea. But the answer that people do, and you'll see this in your own lives, not just in shul, everywhere, that the answer that people have for their to cover up their own bankruptcy is they talk. And if you'll meet a real Talmud Chacham, there's been here people that are much bigger Talmidei Chacham than me, sat here guests or whatever. I watch from here the way they're listening to me. Now, I have nothing to teach them. I mean, what am I going to teach them that they don't know? These people know everything. I mean, if you meet people that big Talmidei Chacham or Rosh Yeshivas, they listen like I'm teaching them for the first time in their life. It's just amazing mito. Why? It's because of what we're learning over here. Because they understand that however you want to learn, whatever part of the Hakira you want to take, but they understand that either the only way to learn Torah is by getting rid of Gaiva, or they understand that every little bit that I learn changes my personality so much so that I have no Gaiva. So any way you want to take it, which seems to be a machlokes Reb Tzadok and Rashi. But the only nafkamina is, like under the hood, the technology, what's happening here, and how to work it. But it's again, what do you do to quiet down that pushka? Put more stuff in it, and that requires, most cases, that requires, stopping to talk.
What about the Gra?
It says in Yeridea, when you learn Hilchos for Smicha, you learn Kashrus. So the Gemara says, brought in Shulchan Aruch, that if a pot becomes kosher, a pot becomes treif. The klal is, I did the Torah lemiflat eina boileha, which means,
Just too busy giving out.
If the pot is giving out treif or milchiks or fleishiks, it can't be boleh anything. Well, why in the world not? So it means to say you could use treif water. You can use treif water to kasher a pot, because I did it. So I mean, this is whenever I think about this, because I'm a big rebel like this, I think, oh, that's us. I did the Torah Lemiflat. When you're so busy being polite, nothing can get in. It's impossible. You see this all the time. But Nachtifer is that it's exactly why a person is talking so much and not listening, because it's empty. Because It's a defense mechanism. That's why people talk. That's why people talk all the time. That's why people talk in elevators, because they're uncomfortable with the silence. That's why they can't go. It's less than 30 seconds. How's the weather? How you doing? Friendly is good, but I'm saying, but there's this need to talk. Why? Because I don't know how to be boleya. But here's a great exercise, like walk into an elevator and learn something. I don't mean Torah. Just learn something. Learn. Isn't that nice the way that person pushed the button?
Right, that's an American thing.
Talking a lot.
Talking in an elevator.
Yeah, talking in the elevator. Yeah, they even have elevator speeches. Elevator pitches. It's named after the American ability.
So what does it say about that?
I think that we're so uncomfortable with silence.
American form.
I'm an American. I ate on the base of not Russia. I do. But I'm saying that. No, but let's ask the question differently. Why? Which is more important? If you don't have an elevator in your building, why are we so uncomfortable with silence? Because why? So the answer is it's a certain bankruptcy. We don't have our own thoughts. We don't have our own like we're bored. It's the same thing with cell phones, I believe. Like what's it all about? It's just we just lost the ability to be able to think, converse, have substance within ourselves. Everything's coming minachutz. Besides for what you're looking at, good and bad, but the addiction is that somebody is not standing at a bus stop or even crossing the street without looking at a device. You're crossing the street, for heaven's sakes, pushing a stroller, looking at it. It's not, and you're not supposed to have a smartphone to begin with. What are you even doing? Or if you're more Haredi, they're talking on the phone. Why? Why can't they just be alone with their thoughts? So I think that, and I think this is true of all of us, that just can't take it for even one minute. It's like it's so noisy, the silence. That I think the reason is because it's an emptiness, and the emptiness comes. You see, it's like the what'd you say the what's the metaphor? The chicken and the egg. Except they're all, but in other words, it's a gaiva which comes from emptiness, whereas if a person would teach themselves to absorb, then they wouldn't need this external stimuli. That's all I'm saying. So the need for external stimuli shows a bankruptcy within, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying you shouldn't say good morning to people in the elevator. I try to do that.
Think about the American life
where they have 40-story buildings.
We were
Okay.
mentioned a couple of weeks ago about social media. So maybe is that the thing that people, I'm going to tell you everything about me because I'm not being who I am. And you see, like in the drama, people don't listen to each other. It's all like pushing out, but not
Smart people with substance don't tell you everything about them. Big Talmidei Chacham don't tell you everything about them. If a person talks too much, that's a sign of emptiness, I believe. But it's step. I think it's step. What's chitzonius, what's pnimius. But what the bottom line is the first line. The bottom line is the first line. Let's go to try to get through this. I'm sorry for going on my. The minute you think that you've grasped the infinite, yeda, that's your biggest sign. That's our key sentence that we got to walk away with today, because right? That's the niggin here.
Also, Harvey Bavodas Hashem is translated as grasp the infinite.
I mean, why did I translate it like that? Because I don't think it's just understanding Torah. I think it's the infinite is Hashem. So avodas Hashem. How do you want to know if somebody's an Amaretz? If they start talking all the time, like a Talmud Chacham. Now here's another Kehillas Shivtei Yeshurun does not say this. It's not just that you are you have this kind of insecurity, so you're always showing off in front of other people. let's say you're just talking to yourself. Ki ikar agaiva, says Rav Tzadok, ki ikar agaiva b'libay. When we're talking about gaiva, we're talking about how I think of myself. So it's not even the insecurity of what I want other people to think about me. And the more I'm insecure about that, the more I'm going to tell them how good I am and how much you should think about me.
That's how it starts off.
That's the lashon.
This doesn't sound good for the self-esteem movement.
I agree. I have to be miyashev those two things. Unless they're talking about the shmini b'shminis. But K'moshe Nemar, I mean, the chiddush of the, let's say, the Twersky movement, who knew a lot more about this than I do, that's for sure, was that even the source of addiction is a lack of self-esteem. Whenever a person is dishonest and goes to jail, it was lacking in self-esteem. In other words,
Abraham J.
Rabbi Abraham J. Twersky, if you look at the conclusions, he felt like this was a chap that is the answer for everything. So now it becomes upon us. I'm not one to disagree. I agree. I'm just pointing out, like, how does that fit with the Kehillas Shivtei Yeshurun and Rav Tzadok of to understand how nothingness we are. Do you know the famous story? I think it's a true story that Einstein, Dr. Einstein, Albert Einstein, the physicist, was in a crowded auditorium with his students and just teaching his theory. He tells a famous story. He had a pin in his coat in this crowded auditorium, and he took out the pin. So he said, everyone see the pin, very sharp thing on top. You can't put much on the top of the pin. He says the top of the pin is like our whole planet, klape the universe, relativity, and the room that we're in, which had 1,000 people in it, let's say, would not be able to be picked up by a microscope. And the individual within the room is not measurable. So, and his point was, what do we understand already? That was the point that he was making. What do we understand already? Somebody asked, I read this biography a number of years ago, that's why I know this. Also makes me sound intelligent, but I did read his biography a number of years ago. And somebody asked him, he hints at being religious every once in a while, like he was religious, but but somebody asked him that after you've mastered all of the physics and science and mathematics that you've mastered, do you understand God better? So he picked up his hand to touch the sky. He says, I can't touch the sky, right? So the guy says, yes. Then he pulled over a chair and he stood on the chair and he picked up his hand to touch the sky. So the humility is the key to knowledge. The brilliance here was understanding. We don't understand. We don't understand. And that's what I mean by touching the infinite. It's enough to know that I don't know. So if I don't know, probably Socrates or something said that somewhere. But if I don't know, if I say I know, it's the path to ignorance. I'm not sure if there's some kind of a thing, but we have to.
What are you doing here? Just want to understand. So what's the ritual?
To understand here.
Yeah.
To understand that we don't understand anything, so go back to ground zero. Is that in the face of the self-esteem movement? I don't know how that works, but it's to understand that we always have to be open to learning, and the minute that you think you understand, So it becomes that kind of a culture which I don't really get of not letting a person finish their sentence because I know that already, or I don't want you to think that I don't know that all by myself. Forgive my Yiddish, but that's what I grew up with here. Let's go a minute further. The Kayin, Kayin, Hikriv Davar Garua. Kayin gave an inferior sacrifice. V'chashav, but he thought, Sha'asa Avoda Gedola. He thought he did a fantastic thing. I mean, after all, he's the first one to think of this idea of bringing a sacrament. So Chashav said, it's nice, I gave. Shalakach Choreloi, Shaloi Niskabel. Then his carbon is not accepted. And he gets angry. So what's the anger all about? The anger is all about that here I did this fantastic thing and it's not appreciated. Now, do you really think you're appeasing the heavens by bringing what you brought? Did you really bring yourself in the carbon? Adam kiyakriv mikem carbon. And what all the Rishonim in the Mikrois Gedolos talk about Kayin, it was kina, it was anger, it was all kinds of theories. Because the reason there's all kinds of theories is, once again, because we don't know why Kayin killed Hevel. We don't know if they had an argument. We just don't know. Maybe making it up. But he says, Kain hikriv davar garua, v'chashav sha'asa avoda gedola, shalakach chara loy shaloi niskabel, he was very angry. B'toz zeh, and then obviously he killed Hevel. B'toz zeh nimsa, how did he make this mistake, Kain? Mitzat sheshokeach inyan hayetzer v'kocha. V'choshev shekol machshavos liboy rak toy ve'ein loy netiya l'ra. You see, this is the important Gemara that we have to end up with. The Gemara everybody knows in Sukkah and Beis on the Beis. There the Gemara says that La'asid Lavai, which I presume means when Mashiach comes. La'asid Lavai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take the Yetzer Hara, he's going to shecht it and rob him. Everybody knows that Hashem is going to shecht it. Why are you shechting the Yetzer Hara? It's a Shliach Hashem. No need for the Yetzer Hara anymore today. From this day on, Geula, everybody's going to be good. Everybody's just going to naturally do good. That is shech the Yetzer Hara. However, if you were, the Gemara says, if you were kovesh the Yetzer Hara until now, you're standing here. If you're not kovesh the Yetzer Hara, you're standing here. It's not necessarily like you get points for this. Fighting your Yetzer Hara matters. So the Gemara says, famous Gemara, the Gemara says that the tzaddikim and the Rishayim are both going to watch this mass shechita, the rodeo where the Yetzer Hara is slaughtered, and the tzaddikim are going to say, oh my gosh, who could be kovesh that mountain? It's such a big mountain, and the Rishayim are going to say, why didn't we do this? It's like a simple jump over. Nothing. Why didn't we do this? So it's interesting that Rishayim nidme lahem kahar and Rishayim nidme lahem kachut. Tzadikim, yeah. Tzadikim nidme lahem kahar. So what's the thing? The thing is that once you understand, like the infinite, then you realize that it's an insurmountable mountain, and therefore they're humbled by the gigantic size, by the enormity of the Yetzer Hara. And the person that says, I could have done that in a minute, and also klugzach, that he didn't do it, it's because he's never, this is the emptiness and the gaiva, which tells him that, if I want to do that, I could do that in a minute. I can stop anytime I want. And so it's what the Gemara is bringing out exactly is this stira. What you got to do with that? Let me end off with a joke that I always like to tell. Forgive me if you've heard it. But the guy comes to Shemayim, and just popped in my mind. The guy comes to Shemayim, and the Malach says, you've got to go to Gehenna. So why do I have to go to Gehenna? He says, because we looked at your record, you never gave any charity at all. Anything. So I says, I never gave any charity at all. He says, I did. So he says, what'd you do? So he says, it was years and years ago. I was on the subway, and the guy reached out to me. He couldn't get into the subway. We couldn't. I gave him $1. I did. So that's it. Gave $1 charity your whole life. So this is another guy, also many years later, was a homeless person sitting on the street, and I gave them $1. So he says, "That's what you did." That's what I did. So he goes to Hashem. He says, "What do we do with this guy?" And Hashem says, "Give him back his $2 and tell him to go to hell." Okay. With this, I will end.
Feeling disconnected.
Also lacking.
That lacking is the Rav the Rav kept carrying it between the lines. It's not just the person feeling nothing, but the relative, and that's the Rabbeinu.
So what are you saying? Loneliness,
disconnection, being disconnected from the cosmos.
No, but does loneliness come from a lack of self-esteem?
That'd be a discussion.
She does.
But the loneliness comes from it?
Yeah. Comfortable myself with my...
The kid grows up without attention, without touch, they probably develop themselves. Meaning a parent.
They're saying that like this whole attachment
builds.
No, might be the saying it might be the other way around. If there was no attachment, there becomes more self.
I thought you meant the attachment was not child.
Yeah, I'm talking about the attachment theory, which applies to God also. The attachment theory is where that a child grows up and is attached to the mother, feeds him, holds him, cuddles him, and so that creates a certain security within the child.
And the dependence. And the dependence.
But there are those that say, this is a big thing, attachment theory, but there are those that say that it's actually creates a dependence and it's kind of like an external thing, which is not creating anything within the kid. I mean, obviously people should hug their kids. I'm saying it's a very interesting with the Hakohen.
About the Gra says that Yarav Kamata Likhi, the Torah is like a rain. It makes the good midas grow and the bad midas grow. So I'm saying just filling up the pushka may or may not make it less noisy.
Ultimately, you gotta stop shaking.
What?
You gotta stop shaking.
Why will it not make it less noisy?
Because you're going to keep shaking. In other words, if you're a guy who shakes
full
the
pushka
thing,
doesn't make noise.
No,
That's what we want.
So I'm saying, but Lamaisa, if the guy doesn't get rid of his guy or is not trying to, so then the Torah just makes his guy bigger. Now I'm a Baal guy because I know a lot.
So not the shaking, the bigger, the pushka gets bigger.
Saying that just because I know more, I'm humbled by that. That's not necessarily doesn't necessarily follow unless the person is trying to go there.
To add to what Ari is saying is that we said that you shouldn't take one like the Talmud is not Hagod. You're going to give him Torah, you're giving him more ammunition to become a worse person.
Or you shouldn't learn Torah Shalom Lishma.
The belt doesn't practice this way.
Right, I would say
you're not allowed to learn Torah Shalom Lishma.
I would say that if a guy is
I'll tell you, the gemara has a heter. It says that you're allowed to learn Torah Shalom Lishma, even though it does tremendous amount of damage, both in the Shemayim and in your own Neshama. But only there's a heter because of Torah Shalom Lishma. I'm saying because like we've taken the Shalom Lishma, we've made it a religion. If somebody learns Lishma, they say, learn Lishma, learn Shalom Lishma, like you're going to miss the scale step. And there's whole Rav Dessler's about this, you got the importance of Shalom Lishma. But Be'etzem, it's feeding a certain gaiva. That's what Shlo Lishma means.
I think that really, like the tzedakah box, if a person starts out with gaiva and doesn't, it just gets bigger. So even
the
though
box gets bigger. That's what I'm saying. Not the shaking it more. The right metaphor is the box gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Which the box being the ego.
Yeah.
It's unsatiable. It's unsatiable. So how do you solve the whole problem? Torah. Torah or avodas Hashem.
No, but that's the Gro's issue, is that the Torah can also make your gaiva bigger. So just Torah alone is not going to do it.
I think avodas Hashem is gufa, humbling oneself.
It's realizing the heart, the fact that Hakadosh Baruch Hu is great.
That's right. I think that's gufa.
Hashem is infinite.
Right. I don't think there is any other avodas Hashem, really, except for to realize. I think that's what the Kehillat Shivtei Yeshurun says. Except for to realize that I can't. Without a Hakadosh Baruch Hu helping me, I have no way of doing it. Without a Hakadosh Baruch Hu making the world work, it's not going to work. Without Hashem waking me up and Asher Yotzar Zadam, I'm not going to work. So the whole avodas Hashem has to do with these pashtus, as it says in Shulchan Aruch, that I'm completely unav to. That's why I said that when Moshe Rabbeinu said I can't, you're the man. That's exactly when he was when he got the job. So so the anivus is like not a side, like one of the midos. It's the whole avodas Hashem. So it's not Torah. I'm saying it's understanding Hashem. So the more one doesn't understand Hashem, or can't even approach that.
Is it a trick though when he says biladai? Is it a trick that he knows that in order to, when he says I can't, when Moshe Rabbeinu and Yosef say that, do they actually believe that they can't do it?
Well, that's your self-esteem question.
Yeah, that's my self-esteem question.
So let's say it goes like this. I'm just thinking. I'm not saying a theory off. Let's say it goes like this: that I'm offerani tachas raglim. In other words, I'm humbled by Hashem. I can't do anything. But if there's no self-esteem, like you can't even get there. Meaning, then you won't even believe that you do have some kind of a thing to do. Like the idea is, I have a mission to do, and it's all siyata d'shmaya. But if you take the I out of it completely, then you'll never fulfill the mission. Is that correct?
I'm thinking biladai halakim yaneh shlom paro. Maybe the correct version of self-esteem is, it's not me, but I know that Hashem will work through me.
That's what the Rav always asks. That's your bakasha. You say use me.
You need a certain amount of self-esteem to believe that Hashem is going to work through me.
That's what I'm saying. That requires a kli. So the self-esteem might make sense that it's a kli.
It's very dark.
It's modak. That's what we're here for. I also understood. I might have mentioned. Forgive me. I forget things, but I had an epiphany which might be pashut, that Yosef said Zachar Zachartani, and he got another 2 years in jail. So which is harsh, meaning like he interpreted the guy's dream, and then he was expecting like the next day or something they were going to come and pull him out of jail, get pardoned. And he's waiting. 2 years is a long time. To wait any day for the door to open with the guy to come. It finally took 2 years. So Rashi Chazal tell us that because he reminded the Sarah Mashkim. He said it twice. One time it was Bashtal. So what's this message here? The message is, I think, this is the aura that I had, that this whole story of Yosef, from when he was a child, and his brothers were bullying him, all the way to this moment in jail, was B'tachon school. The whole thing was to create a person that can be the king of Egypt and help the Jewish people and all that. So it was all B'tachon school. And here he's in 8th grade, and he failed the final test. So you have to be held back 2 years. It's not that, okay, onesh, you didn't have betachin. Is that you obviously did not completely, did you not completely master the lesson of your life? And just by the very fact that you repeated yourself means that you did not master something. Sorry, like, okay, you repeat the class. Like a driver's license.
Biladai, he passes.
Biladai, he passed the test.
He said it to them also. He said.
He also said. That's why I emphasize it.
He said to them, "Haloi pisronim saprinoli." He says to them. So
right.
like,
which is 7th grade. Whatever. He says it's a fact that he.
No, not the same.
I just remember when I first started being a rabbi, it was hard to get a minyan during the week. It was hard to get a minyan, so you got to call people. So I would say to somebody, can you come to the minyan? I would meet them somewhere. Yeah, I'll come to the minyan. Okay, I'll come 7 o'clock. I'll come. And then as they were leaving the room, so I said, "So I'll see you at the minyan, right?" and one guy turned around and he said to me, "Boy, you're insecure." At the time I thought to myself, I thought that I would secure saying you're not really very firm or dependable. Right. But in fact, okay, I did mine. Asked them to come to the minyan. What do you that was a failure, I should say. So you'll be there, right? That's what Yosef did.
Human beings need reminders and need to know that it's important. You need to hear over and over again that your contribution is important.
It's not, as you said, whether what we're talking about is like obsessive behavior, because I don't believe in God. It's like for me, it's like a vote. If this is going to be a shul, if there's going to be a kehillah, if there's going to be a building, if there's going to be, I'm talking about shulas and stuff. It's all min hashamayim. Fundraising, it's all min hashamayim. Doesn't mean you don't have to ask, but it's all min hashamayim. Seen it over and over again. Shidduchim. All min hashamayim.
The version that he uses, lo negakun, is very extreme.
Very extreme.
He has nothing.
Harsh.
Because the gaiva knocks everything out that he
I don't know. So it's not that the gaiva knocked it out, but you were just the galadas that you don't even understand what Avodas Hashem is. The minute somebody said, it's like Shell's example. The minute you say, "Oh, I read the Talmud,"
on a comment on YouTube.
So it's a sign, not that he didn't read the Talmud. It's a sign that you don't even know. You don't even know what it is. You don't even understand what it is. That's the thing. And if I say I read the Quran, it means nothing. Did you read it? I know Shakespeare. I mean, there's nothing.
It's one of the worst things that I heard in Australia when I came back from. All my friends, I went to the day school for 12 years.
Yeah. So give him back his $2. Last night there was, this thing with the Sefer Torah, so there's a big Talmud Chacham that learns here in the afternoon. So he's looking at it. There's a Chavrusa that learns here. They're learning the Kehillas Shivtei Yeshurun. This guy's know everything. There's 2 guys here. So he's looking. So I said, "Can you read English?" Like, what are you looking at so much? So he said that he told me there's a story with the Panovich Rav. He went to speak somewhere in Florida, and he was speaking Yiddish. So the guy came over to him afterwards. He says, I don't understand Yiddish, and I really don't know what you said, but it sounded like you were asking for money. So the Panovich Rav told him, "You're the only one in the room that understood." Okay.
I have a thought. If it's always infinite, we're trying to touch the infinite. Maybe when we say before learning im tevakshena kakasef, I always thought it was just, we want to channel. There's a drive for greed, so you channel into learning. But maybe it's like if a person has mea, he wants matayim. He wants more. Like
say it again. I'm not getting.
Yeah. So like with money, we say. Shlomo says, if you have 100, you want 200. Maybe it's Chazal. It's Chazal, so I want more. Right, so maybe when we're about to learn, and Shlomo says, Im tevakshena kakasef, if you want to learn and touch HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as much as you would be aware that the more money you have, the less money you have. Because money also, you have this insatiable drive that the money is I'm always gonna want more money than I have, no matter what. Is that like channeling the same drive for Yiras Hashem?
So the one thing is, if a person says, like, if I get $100,000 or $1 million, whatever the numbers right now, then I'll never look for money again. So that's a sign that you don't understand human. That's not true. Your hasagas will be even bigger. So if you get $1 million, your prayer is answered. You'll want 2 million. You want 1 billion.
If you get 1 billion, you're going to want more.
Did you ever meet somebody that says, "Oh, I have enough money"? I don't know if I ever. I mean, okay.
So is that what we say when we use Bakshana Kakasa and we're looking
No,
for
good.
treasures?